once you are aware of what the big picture is, you've got your plan, you've built your messaging, you can't then unleash that message without an understanding of who the audience is. And it's not just about finding that my audience is, I know how people love to build personas, and they do that in marketing. They say, my persona is 25 to 35 years, and it's a female who stays in the north. It's all right to build that persona, but that in its own will not help you if you can't define the connection point for your message and the persona. And so what we tried to do was build the personas and segment them and say, okay, so if you've got an unemployed youth who is a graduate who lives in a township or in the suburbs, what is their connection point? If you've got an employed youth who is earning RTGS currency, or Zimbabwean dollar as people would want to call it, which amounts to nothing at the end of the month, what is their connection point? If you're dealing with a woman who is about to deliver, who has to face the reality of the health delivery system, what is the connection point? And in all these personas, what we developed for every persona was a connection point. How do they connect to this campaign? How do they connect to the questions that we're asking? And in doing that, you end up building focus groups. And these focus groups are actually already there. It's a matter of tapping into them. You already have residents association. You already have people that are dealing with mining, equality rights in mining. You already have people who are dealing with social justice and economic justice. Yeah. So the idea is, once you find your connection point and you align it to existing focus groups, then you can broaden your message.
For us, one of the big lessons was then to test, including the questions themselves, by using the focus groups approach, where we had to gather people, say, in mining communities, get to understand the issues that they're facing, get to understand their aspirations. It could be about human dignity. It could be about responsible investments. It could be about inclusive prosperity, local content development. It could be about fiscal justice, allocation of resources, gender responsive budgeting. So there were different aspects. And during the campaign, we ran kind of some workshopping that we had to do in virtual platforms, but also our foot soldiers in the communities had to, bring together different groups that are looking at specific different sectoral issues, so that we could segment them, we could ask the critical question, we could really understand the context, the issues they are facing, but the aspirations that they have. So based on those aspirations, we could then test our questions and say, okay, is this a legitimate question if we are asking about compensation after displacements? Because you have to be displaced for a diamond mining company to operate in your community. Say we're talking about Manika land and we're talking about diamonds, Marange, Chiadzwa area as an example. Chilonga is an issue as well. Yeah. Do you have to pave way for a mega deal? What are your aspirations? Everyone wants investment, but what does investment has? Yes, what is it that it has to do? How is it supposed to be done? So we ran a lot of tests for us to be able to build a narrative, but also control the narrative based on the aspirations and on the understanding of our own audience, on the understanding of the different issues that were coming from the different sectors. So we'd meet with the students and youths as an example. What are your issues? Are they jobs? Is it early child marriages for girls? If they are, what are the issues? Why do we have early child marriages, as an example, in Zimbabwe? Because education is unattainable and inaccessible for many. We were in COVID-19, girls and children were just staying at home without, proper public education facilities and the like. So we sought to understand our audience, not only from a historical kind of perspective, but from the lived realities of the moment. It was COVID-19, there was a disruption of a pandemic, and we have seen many disruptions. Zimbabwe has gone as well through climate change disruptions, cyclones, for example, in the Eastern Highlands. So many issues that we had to pick for us to understand our audience and the critical questions that we had. And it was very important in terms of understanding the audience, because the questions that we asked were owned by the audience. So they were guarding jealously to their questions, because they wanted their questions to be answered, and they were very targeted. And we reached, I think the issue of reach became very important for us when it comes to the issue of audience. We've spoken to the issue of movement building, and your campaign cannot be closed. You cannot run a, personified J kind of campaign. It may win it, but I think there are very few larger than life personalities. I'm not a larger than life personality. I cannot just run a campaign just around myself and win it. I need a whole lot of masses. There are a lot of people that I have to represent. And when I'm doing my work, I have to know that so many people that do not have the stages that I get onto are counting on me. So when you're running a campaign, you also have to understand that there's a whole audience that is counting on you, and you have to understand their questions, you have to understand their aspirations, you have to understand where they're going, where they are coming from, and pick that up. So I think it is very important, and it was a very big lesson for us in terms of learning and also understanding our audience, and critical to the campaign as well, in terms of answering the different questions. I think a campaign, from what I picked, when you seek to understand the audience, is that there are different questions that will come from different sectors, and there are different stages that are going to answer to those questions, and it takes understanding the audience. So you understand the audience from the demand side. I think it's important for your campaign. You have to understand the audience from the demand side, and you have to understand the audience from the supply side of your answers, because you want answers, and you have to understand how your supply side in terms of the answers is going to give you those answers. So you need to understand, is it a confrontational, is it an arrogant, is it a responsive kind of audience, is it a very one that resists questions, one that blushes away questions, and the like. So you need to be looking at all those and understanding understanding your audience, and the reach is as well at the demand side and at the supply side. I think that is very important. If you can show that you have, from the demand side, reached this so much, and from the supply side you have reached this so much, I think data, TC, from what we learned, tells the full story.